Okay, so today we will be talking about shame, mostly talking about what it is, how it works, why it does what it does. I think that the point here is to understand what it's doing to the extent that you will have a very good idea of how to end shame conceptually, and it's something that you can hopefully be life changing. So, to start off, what is shame? We know that shame is, the source of a lot of self harm. It tends to be unseen, it lives inside of us. We often perceive that it's coming from the outside, but it's ultimately all just a projection of what's going on inside. It has an ability to cripple us. It tends to cause us to fear inadequacy or, have a lower estimation of our self worth. And it can absolutely create problems where there are none. And where we do perceive problems, it can inflate them. But what is shame at its core? Why is it there? Why do we have it? Is it a bad thing? No, shame is not a bad or good thing. It's just part of being human. Shame is an emotion. And all of our emotions are adaptive mechanisms meant to help us meet challenges. So if anything happens to disturb the status quo, an emotion will arise to help us bring balance to it. Now, that's the ideal situation. If we are misperceiving the situation, or we have some, long-standing issue with, resistance to emotions or reactivity to emotions, obviously we often don't end up creating balance. But that's not a problem with emotions per se. When people are working in harmony with their emotions, they can create a lot of balance and harmony in their lives. And this is mostly what people are talking about when they talk about emotional intelligence. So shame is there to keep us alive. All of our emotions are there to ensure our survival and hopefully also reproduction. Shame specifically is trying to prevent the failure of our group, right? We evolved in groups of 30, 50, 100, 120 people max. These are relatively small groups. This is a very small town, which meant that, it wouldn't take too many people to be really teed off at you for you to end up in a very precarious situation. Life in these times was not individual. You lived as a community or you died. Exile was tantamount to death. And so we fear exile at a fundamental level. This is why we are so afraid of rejection in all its forms, because at the basis of our psyche, the way we evolved was to avoid those repercussions at the pain of death. So when we are thinking about shame, we need to remember that our brain sees the potential of exile. That's all it really sees. And this is the basis of the fears that take us off into such wildly divergent directions. But the point is all about survival. It's all about keeping us alive and keeping us hopefully well. So here we have our Paleolithic peoples. They're living off the land. They're gathering, they're hunting. Let's say this one guy, Takar, is eating too many berries, right? They gathered a bunch of berries and Takar just goes crazy on the berries. Well, everyone else in the group is going to get angry at him. Why? Because Takar's behavior is creating an imbalance in the health of the community, right? Everybody needs to share the berries so that everybody's healthy, so that everybody can contribute, which is the essence of community, which is the whole reason why we're here. We're social animals. So the group's anger is not so much aimed at exiling Takar. Their anger is aimed at bringing balance back into the food distribution. So in this case, shame, it's saying to him, don't do that again, because that's a threat to the group. But let's say Takar decided to eat the berries by himself, where no one could see. Now the same emotion of shame, which in the presence of others would cause him to adjust his behavior to learn his lesson and not make the same mistake twice, in private, the same emotion has a massively different effect on our actions. Not only does it keep us, attached to doing whatever we're doing that is possibly causing imbalances in our community, it makes us focus on not letting anyone find out about it rather than doing the right thing. So what we have to understand about shame is that it can be healthy it can be destructive, it can teach us, and it can make us fear being seen. So, what we have to realize is that shame works very, very differently in the public and private.